entire fraternity at School of Law welcome you all on this valedictory session of the online FDP on innovative teaching learning methods and research in law challenges ahead. Today on this occasion, we are fortunate to have amongst us as chief guest one of the most eminent professors of law at present, Professor Dr. Manoj Kumar Sinha sir, Director Indian Law Institute, New Delhi, who will be sharing his insights on the issue. We also have with us Sri P.K. Malhotra sir, former Law Secretary, Government of India, and distinguished professor at School of Law, Sarda University, to grace the occasion and to enlighten us with his thoughts. I am sure the participants shall be benefited immensely after listening to such prominent speakers today. So, now without taking much time, I would like to invite our Dean Sir, Professor Pradeep Kulshrestha, to formally welcome our guest. Sir.
Thank you, Namitji. It is my distinct privilege to welcome Chief Guest in the Validity session, Professor Manoj Kumar Sinha, School of Law. Can you hear me?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
You're
sir.
audible.
Yes.
Okay. School of Law, as part of innovative teaching learning methods, every year we conduct this faculty development program. And this year also, we all know we are facing very unprecedented times. And we thought that we should continue with this faculty development program. And the response has been overwhelming. We had on first day we had 300 plus participants. Then on an average we had around 250 participants every day. So we had two sessions, morning and evening, and we had Professor S.K. Bhatnagar, Vice Chancellor Dr. Ram Manohar Lohia, National Law University, Lucknow, as the chief guest in the inaugural session, and he very eloquently guided us that how we should go about in the online teaching learning and what issues we can face and how we can make this online teaching learning a happy experience. Then in afternoon we had Professor VPS Arora. He is former Vice Chancellor Komayu University and he is Director IQAC with Chardha University. He also elaborated in detail the various methods of engaging classroom, and we faced in that session some technical glitches. That is a reminder to all of us that whenever we are conducting online teaching, especially classes, some students may face genuine issues. Next day, we had Professor Furqan Ahmed. He is a former professor of law from ILI, one of the leading researcher in India. In a very lucid manner, he taught us that how we can go about research. In the afternoon session, we had Miss Yashodhara. She is with us as a Sharda Tech Skill faculty. She told us how to maintain serenity in this very challenging times. Then on Wednesday, 15th July, we had Professor G.B. Reddy from Osmania University. He told us how we can teach IPR in a very innovative and easy to teach manners. Then in the afternoon session, we had Professor H.S.P. Rao. He is Dean Research in Sharda University. Then on Thursday, we had Professor Moolchand Sharma. He told us about Federalist during COVID-19. I think it is echoing
Echo.
on its own.
Yes, sir. Your screen is also visible, sir.
Haji?
सर आप डेस्कटॉप से भी लॉग इन हो
नहीं, मैं डेस्कटॉप से ही हूँ, सिर्फ लैपटॉप से ही हूँ। डेस्कटॉप से किसी और ने किया होगा मेरे लोग।
Sir, now it's all right. Now it's all right.
Okay. So this is the basically some minor glitches in online, as I was mentioning. Then in afternoon session we had Professor Anubhav Vasist. She's Dean School of Humanities in Sharda University. In a very thoughtful manner, she presented detailed methodologies that how we can do our online teaching and learning. Then on Friday we had Professor M.R.K. Pesar. He's principal V.M. Salgaonkar College of Law, Panjim, Goa. In a very nice manner, he told us how we can go about clinical legal education. And I'm sure we will certainly evaluate the methods which he told. Then we had Professor Aati Kaul, Dean School of Education, in the afternoon session. And today we have Professor Manoj Kumar Sinha in this inaugural session as a chief guest. Uh, as Bhagavad Gita tells that the yoga karmashu kaushalam, that the कर्म में कुशलता ही सर्वोत्तम योग है, and we teachers are seeing that we are keeping teaching on undeterred by this COVID-19 pandemic. We have seen doctors, nurses, teachers, and government officials, police services, all this electricity departments. They have ensured that nation keeps on move. So we are proud of contribution of everybody who have ensured that things don't come to a halt with whatever challenges we are ensuring this session also. And it's very difficult to bring good methods into practice. So challenge lies there. So whatever we have learned, we should ensure that we put them in practice. And as a nice innovative method, we have put all the session recorded session on the YouTube channel. So you can see them if somebody has missed them, and as a revision also you can refer to them, and you can refer them to your colleagues also, so that they also can take benefit of all this legal luminaries wisdom. We have seen that Constitution of India has been amended more than 100 times in the past more than 70 years, including Part 3 of the Constitution, which is fundamental rights. This is a testimony of the fact that change is the only permanent, and one needs to learn to adopt the change. As they say, learn, unlearn, and relearn. So this process is a continuous process. We should keep innovating in our methods. And personally, I think there are many ways of doing a thing. Some people do things just for the sake of the doing. Some people try to do their better. Some people learn some joy of doing in whatever they do. So I believe we should unearth that joy of doing in our teaching profession, and we should strive for excellence in whatever we do. That will certainly have impact on our teaching learning methods. That will certainly make us also very happy about what we are doing. Otherwise, I think there will be always some sort of stress. And if we are enjoying our teaching, there will not be any stress. The chief guest in the valedictory session, Professor Manoj Kumar Sinha, is a well-known legal luminary. He is director Indian Law Institute. He did his doctorate in international law from Jawaharlal Nehru University, LLM from University of Nottingham, and LLB from University of Delhi. He attended the 29th session of the International Institute of Human Rights, France. His areas of specializations are human rights, constitutional law, international humanitarian and refugee law, international criminal law, international law, and international institutions. He has published extensively in the field of international law, international relations, constitutional law, international human rights, humanitarian and refugee laws in reputed national and international law journals. He is serving as the member of editorial board of various reputed international and national journals. He was offered prestigious visiting professorship at the Wellenberg Institute of Human Rights, Sweden. Prior to joining Indian Law Institute, he was teaching at the West Bengal National University of Juridical Sciences as professor of law. Currently, he is on leave from there. He has also served at the Indian Society of International Law as its director, and presently he is holding a position of director Indian Law Institute. There is a saying that Vidya Dadati Vinayam, that true person who is educated is humble. So Professor Manoj Kumar Sinha is epitome of this saying. Whoever approaches him, he always is very kind and supports. So I find whenever I have approached him, he was always full of support and encouragement. So we should emulate his wise words, and we are very proud that he has spared his valuable time to be with us in this valedictory session. With these words, I, on my own behalf and on behalf of the management, Professor P.K. Malhotra, dignitaries, faculty, non-teaching staff, students, and the participants, extend a very warm welcome to Honorable Professor Manoj Kumar Sinha and express our sincere gratitude. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you very much, Professor Gupta ji,
Thank you,
and
sir.
Sri Professor P.K. Malhotra sir. And it's always, so I don't think that I'm chief guest. I'm part of the Sarda University because so kindness like Sri P.K. Malhotra sir and Professor Pradeep Kulshrestha, whenever they get a chance, they invite me. So I feel I'm an internal member of the Sarda University, and uh, I feel very proud of that. And I'm very happy that the activities for Professor Pradeep Kulshrestha is not no. I request,
Hello.
so like, request everybody to mute, then things will like, otherwise voice are coming. Uh, so I always
Sir,
feel very honored whenever I'm invited to share my thought with the faculty members or also with the students. I have been seeing that Professor Pradeep Kulshrestha has a deep interest in dissemination of knowledge, not only within the campus but outside the campus. And almost like every year, 2, 3 faculty development program for last couple of years have been conducted by the university, and that has provided a lot of opportunity for the students from the different parts of the country. And pandemic situation not stopped has not stopped him. In fact, gave him an opportunity to innovate and reach larger audience. What I heard in the morning that more than 200 students are participating in this particular program. Uh, Let me begin with dividing the current crisis in particular three situations, and then how like innovating method of teaching and learning particular situation. So, what we have three important stages, and that can be divided like pre-COVID, during COVID, and post-COVID. So you have a pre-COVID. So prior to March, we have pre-COVID situation. Currently, we are in during COVID situation and post. So most important part is the whatever method we are going or learning during the COVID time, whether it's going to stay, that is the important. Whether we are going to take this step further. So if like this teaching method, innovative methods of teaching and learning, which we are going to learn in the entire process of during the COVID period, is going to pass on in the past post-COVID situation, or it will remain confined to only during the COVID. If it remains to only during the COVID situation, so entire exercise is in one way ad hoc and temporary that we have to think about. So how much time we have to spend, how much time and energy. As a teacher, I feel this is a great opportunity, and this has not opened up only to the university system. It has opened to the board. This has opened to the governmental function. So everywhere I see there is opening up. And Professor P.K. Malhotra sir is involved in the e-code exercise. A number of exercises were there related with the technology innovation. And I'm sure that he might have witnessed how much struggle it was to break that barrier. People were not willing to accept if this is possible, where people can come on the through internet and discuss and talk about their issues, whatever the issues are there that can be discussed. But all of a sudden in March, things changed. So during COVID, so pre-COVID, we struggled. Introduction of the online teaching method was a struggle. We have not got a permission from the University Grants Commission to run a faculty development program online. You might have by now received many mails from the university. Your course is not recognized. The students would have asked a number of questions. How can you run the faculty development program? So nobody thought that there is a possibility that's real. It can happen. And that is the reason UGC has a detailed regulation for online distance education. There is a lot of regulation UGC has created for the 2017. They have online distance education. One point of time, they have also said in Indira Gandhi National Open University, which came much before UGC regulation, was asked not to offer the degree. But anyway, that problem has been solved. But 2017, a lot of regulations were there about the online education, because it always questioned that what the quality of teaching, the distribution of the material, access to the students. A lot of questions were there. So UGC was not opening up this sector. But thanks to the COVID-19, we opened. We opened for new things. So these things which we are struggling for many years were resolved in a very short span of time. And this is going to be real. This is going to be permanent. So now, as I said, this is real and this is permanent. So our way of thinking has to be permanent in nature. So first, I always say, and I feel, as a head of the institution, Professor Pratik Kulkarni and P.K. Malhotra is there. What I feel, once we are out of this crisis, means when we are in the post-COVID situation, we should continue with this exercise because it gives an opportunity to teacher also and student also to find out time. If a teacher is out of the city for any academic exercise, he can always connect with his students and he says, "Okay, I will take a class on the 7 to 9 in the evening today or tomorrow." That will help. So what we have to work, at least we have to, in during this particular phase, we have to develop a modality. It's not we have to, so there may be danger that we may disrupt it up abruptly. A notification will come and then government will say, "Okay, you stop. Now no more online teaching." Why not we prepare ourselves and put it strongly that this has to stay because we have experimented. We would have never imagined 200 students coming and attending the program and then that all the best legal luminaries, they came here online and they taught them. So we have connected. So connectivity has larger in all senses. Students sitting in a remote place in West Bengal, teachers sitting in the Goa, but it's like no. Otherwise, you have also very inexpensive mode. You don't need to spend a money, huge money on this particular program. And people are also forthcoming. Speakers are also forthcoming. I remember in one of the virtual law school programs, Sir P.K. Malhotra sir or Professor Justice A.K. Sikri was there. So A.K. Sikri has agreed. He said, there's no problem. Now I can sit at home and I can talk to people. So many judges, many lawyers, many people are like, government officers, they are very keen, they are very good. So the first is the teaching and learning process point, like, can go one by one. The first point which I feel that you should put that, like, persons, like lot of persons, not only on teachers, but there are other persons can be also roped in teaching method and in the class also. So you can invite the judges; they will be happy to come. You can invite lawyers, and there you have been inviting, but they can become the regular part, not only on the seminar and conferences, but also for the classes. So sometimes for the classes, you can ask one teacher one thing like judge or honorable judge or retired judge to deliver a lecture or government officer to deliver a lecture to the students. They will get the practical exposure, what is happening. So there is a possibility the amount of practical classes we are thinking that can be also achieved using online, where a lawyer can educate our students what are the challenges, what are the issues involved in this particular class. So we see involvement is much bigger. There is a possibility. So in days to come, this method has to be the time when after post-COVID, you give all students like online access, email or whatever like but they have everything, so any teacher can immediately connect with the students and everything. This will also the second important point which I feel it's accessibility, availability. Teachers are all the time accessible to the students. If they want, they can also switch off the like that. But if they want, they can be always accessible, so students can. So it's a 24 into 7. There is a continuous engagement is there between the students and the teachers in that method. Also, it compels all of us also to give a written material. So we are going to start the classes to be feel how to fill the gap when you deliver a lecture, when your presence is virtual, how to fill the gap where students feel that after your lecture he can he wants to read further. Then there is an obligation on the part of the teacher in the online mode of teaching to provide reading materials to each student. So if I'm taking today on the fundamental rights, the part 3 of the Indian Constitution, so I teach. So as a class, so offline class, online class, more or less same, so I can teach them, but I will also give one or two articles and I'll aware them. These are the papers to connect. So there is a possibility, like participation of students, interest of the students can be increased by engaging them not only on the virtual purchase, even after that by giving some material. So when you start next class, when the next class you go, you ask them the question whether you have read an article or an article. There is like no some kind of hesitation. I would like to know what I see. There's engagement in the virtual space is less. Students, or sometimes very much. The students keep on writing questions on the chat box, which become very difficult to handle. So large number of questions. So students become more proactive, more vocal, and more forthcoming. I in both ways. Either they are silent also or very proactive. So you have to see also the selection of the question or how to engage students. That technology is very important in the teaching aspect is there. So giving the additional reading material, suggestion of reading material is equally important. If possible, sometimes we can also use the email. Through the email, study material is given to the it's very important. There is no so we can have offline classes when we are in a position to have offline classes. We'll have offline classes and we can continue with the online classes as well as we can. The other but now we have in the mind. So like disadvantage. We see lot of advantages in online research or virtual education. And it's a great support from the state, from the regulatory bodies, from the institution, from the university. It also provides ample time to the teacher are getting more time because they are saving time in traveling. They stay at home. So their research input also be has to be increased. So teacher has to also think how to utilize their time because they can stay at home. Maybe sometimes they can call the university. But in most of the cases, 60 to 70% teachers are till date allowed to function or allowed to work from their respective homes. So when you stay in a home, you are not spending your time in traveling. You are not spending in time. So along with the teaching, research input has to be also increased. Research input. So as a teacher, not you only innovate in the teaching, you have to also think how to increase your publication or how to devote more time on the research. So this particular opportunity, this particular occasion provides an opportunity for both teaching and research. So research you at home, so you organize yourself in a manner where your research input can be there. The, another important aspect is the live access to library. So students are not coming to the campus, and that the and everybody says we have we provide online access to the students. I agree. What you provide Hen Online, you provide Westlaw, you provide Money Patra, you provide LexisNexis. These are the things you are provide. The ebooks that is important. And then because licensing, there's a problem. So when you go for the Oxford complete books in your library, ebooks you have, or Cambridge books you have in the library, what we see, they give you a license and they say 100% can access at one point of time. So you have 500 students in your and 500 students out 500, 200, 300. So accessibility of books have to be increased. And there we have to innovate. And I'm sure that in coming days, these Oxford and Cambridge, they will also try to make it accessible to everyone in one go, like people can access. Journal, Hen Online, thousands of people can access one time. There is no problem. But accessing the e-books of Oxford. So e-books also we have to buy also. So many
Yeah,
books have
yeah.
we have to buy or
Haha.
and library has to be more on the so library is the important place where students want all students want to spend time. So library access of library to the doorstep of the students wherever they are, that has to be ensured by the institution. And also purchase of e-books also be given priority by the school administration and other administration is there. Here I'll take liberty to highlight or mention, not highlight, that how a students can use. So you are aware, and the teacher has to also innovate in teaching. Teaching is not only to the subject based. They have to how they can use the material, how they can procure the material. So you are not only teacher, you are also facilitator to provide them materials and other things. So you keep on suggesting for this, further reading, you can visit this library online. These are the resources that are available. In this connection, I would like to highlight that all students, all the 259 or odd number participants who are here, and all the honorable teachers and respected guests who are present here, I suggest that we have Indian Law Institute has digitized much before, has digitized the entire library. And in fact, the books which we have published till 2000, year 2000, books. So entire public books also we have on the digital form. I suggest all my dear students and respected teachers and colleagues, you kindly go to the ILI website. The moment you reach on the home page, you click the library in the home page button, you click the library. Library will take you to the and library inside and their digital collection. You click the digital collection and then you will find Journal of the Indian Law Institute from 1959 till date. In fact, 2019 we have uploaded everything free. Annual survey of Indian law, all books, everything you will find, and in fact you can go to the other. So I suggest you use there. If you are working in an article on the protection of environment in India, you just go to the digital library of the Indian Law Institute, you put the protection of environment, all the articles published in the Journal of the Indian Law Institute will appear. So it also helps you in doing the research. So use of the library. So teacher, so I take the what is the wherever I go, I must disseminate. So disseminate is very important. When you go in the class, you have to also make the students. It's not like you go in the board or you make the theory. There are some problems. Even the problem part I'll come later on. And these are the way we can help and innovate. Now come to the challenges what we have in the digital. The first, that is the very important. We have four types of what I have identified. We have four types of students. And this problem is, so you are in a private university, your problem is less. In India, you have 50 central universities. In India, you have 127 deemed universities. And you have in India around 408 or 9 state universities and around 345 or 46 private universities. Private universities are coming up. The number of private universities, they started recently, but I'm sure that private universities will go up. They will cross the state university. So these 400 states, the problem is largely confined to the problem which I'm identifying, that is more with the state universities, because the state universities, they affiliate colleges. More than 80,000-90,000 colleges are affiliated by this 400 state university. But in the private university, but still points which I have, I'll just share with you. This problem may not be in Sarda University, may not be in Bennett, may not be in Jindal. So we have four types of students in the current situation. The first is the student with facilities, means the student has all the facilities, good computer, good Android phone, good internet connectivity, everything is there. So that's the first category of the students, and they are generally in the in a good university, they are studying, including Sarda. So they are there, there is no problem. Second kind of student is there, the student with mobile. Only mobile they have, but not computer. Computer they use in the university and the library. They use the, because now purchase of computer will also become essential. If we continue with this mode, then each student should have computer. But they attend the classes with the mobile because they have Android phone. Third kind of student, which we have, is student with mobile, but they don't have Android. It's a very old model of mobile somehow. They started like lower weaker sectors of the society, economically weaker. They have mobile, but they don't have other facilities. And last, they don't have anything. So that is the fourth. So challenge for us as a teacher, because we have to make we have to address also digital divide. We have to also address digital divide. And we have to make an attempt to entire exercise as a digital inclusive. So everybody has to be part of this particular exercise. That's a point we have to keep in the mind. So when we look into the third and fourth, third we can help. Fourth, I feel the university should make an attempt to provide some kind of soft loan or so some kind of assistance to those who are not in a position to have any technology. Some kind of support should be there, and there they can always request not only the administration, alumni can come, or public spirited individual can come. So we all have to work and see that how many students in my class are not in a position to access. So as a teacher, if I go to the college class, I feel what are the problems is there, and then we try to address. So if we make it a digital inclusive, if you address the digital divide properly, I'm sure this technology will change significantly in the field of the legal education, and even in the field of other education. It is it's a great boost there, because it brings a lot of people there. Different kind of scholars are coming. Experts from the nationally, internationally, expert can be invited. Timing is the issue, but people can stay at home. They are not coming to the campus. A lot of changes has been brought, and I'm very happy to see a lot of universities, and particularly like Sarda University has taken a timely action in this regard and brought large number of students to be participate. The technology we have learned, technology you have teaching method you have learned in the last 1 week regarding, you start implementing, but you keep a note the some points which I have highlighted: how to connect students with the library, how to take care of the students, those who are not having the facilities on your own or some way. I'm sure that things will be there, and each sections of the society will be truly represented. Some way it should not we simply feel happy that only out of 50 of out of 50 students in a class, only 40 is accessing. I'm happy. I have to see as a teacher, all 50 are integral part of my class. All 50 are having access of everything, and see ensure there are certain things we can't do, that power failure and infrastructure, but the rest of the things providing mobile and other things we'll try to do. If some gap, some problem is there, we can through the email also we can pass information, WhatsApp. That is the reason I said in innovative method, it's not innovative only PPT you come or you share the material. You give the study material to the student. So most important, providing study material. If you continue to provide study material through online or through email or through WhatsApp, I'm sure things will be better. And we all have a greater responsibility. As a teacher, we have to take it more seriously, not in an ad hoc manner, and take it more with a commitment and sincerity. I'm sure our students will be benefited, we all will be benefited, and in large society will be benefited by this exercise. With this, I want to thank Professor Pradeep Kulshrestha sir, and also Sri P.K. Malhotra sir ji, and all the management, senior officers of the management, and all the staff and the students for inviting me and allowing me to share my point of view. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, for your valuable words and observations on the issue of innovative teaching learning methods and research, and providing us insights and ways on how to utilize the opportunity presented by the present times in making teaching and learning and research a fruitful experience. Thank you, sir. Now I would request Sri P.K. Malhotra, sir, to share his thoughts on the issue. Sir, please.
Am I audible? Hello?
Yes, sir. Yes. Yes, sir, you are audible.
Well, chief guest for the day, my dear friend, Professor Manoj Kumar Sinha, Director, Indian Law Institute, Professor Pradeep Kulshrestha, Dean, School of Law, my dear faculty members and my colleague from the faculty of the School of Law, and dear participants in this faculty development program. First of all, my compliments to Professor Manoj Kumar Sinha for making such a wonderful presentation on use of ICT, Information and Communication Technology, in the field of law, more particularly in the teaching field. I can share my experience when I was working with the government, more particularly in the Ministry of Law and Justice. I was also associated with the use of information and communication technology in the justice delivery system also, and the teachers and the other senior students who are participating in this faculty development program, it may be of interest to all of you. The pace was so slow that sometimes we were really wondering that whether we can really successfully implement the use of information and communication technology in the justice delivery system. Of course, in education, we have been already doing it in the past, but it was confined to only few sectors. It is only after COVID-19 pandemic situation that we have been forced to use it. Sometime crisis also brings many good opportunities for you, and COVID-19 pandemic has brought a very good opportunity for all of us for use of information and communication technology in the field of law, as Professor Sinha has in very detailed and in his own very, impressive way explained to all of us how best we can use it and how best they have already been doing it. As he was saying, that so far as the Indian Law Institute is concerned, they are already having an e-library where all the documents of the Indian Law Institute can be accessed through internet. Now, this is not a development which has come because of COVID-19 pandemic. It was already happening. In most of the cases, the teaching was also happening. But the kind of, like this, the faculty development program, which now we are attending, and I have been a part of this faculty development program for the last 3 years, having been associated with Sharjah University. The participants have been, say, 60, 70, or 80 when physical presence was required. But if using the technology, when we are going for this faculty development program, the total number of participants during the course of some days during the last week has exceeded 300, because people sitting in the comfort of their home get an advantage to hear to the views of senior people who have really contributed in the system, and they learn from their experiencing sitting in the comfort of their home, and they need not waste time on traveling to the university, making a reservation, going to different stations, staying in a hostel for about a week or so. All this can be avoided, and the time can be devoted, more time can be devoted in other useful activities and in research also. Now, so far as this particular faculty development program is concerned, as Professor Pradeep Kulshrestha has already said, because it's only a valedictory function, I don't want to go into the detail of it, because most of the professors who have spoken to you have achieved in their own way in their teaching experience of more than 3 to 4 decades, and have shared their experiences with all of you as to how best we can become a good teacher. Professor Sinha has very rightly pointed out, as a teacher today, your job is not only to teach, because the students who are coming to you, they are well informed already, and by using the technology, they can learn a lot. Your job as a teacher is of a guide, of a mentor, and as a facilitator, and to guide them where to find out what and how to use it. And this is what makes a good student of law as a successful professional also. Now, problem with us is when we come to the technology. Now, take for example, during this particular polls also, there might have been some technical glitches also, because we have been trying to inculcate this habit of using technology in the field of teaching as well as in the field of law, but we have not succeeded because the kind of convergence which was needed, we have not used it. And the stress initially has been on computerization and not on digitization. I think computerization and digitization, both these things have to go hand in hand. I can share my experience. I think it will be of interest to know all of you about 4 or 5 years back, when I was participating in a meeting where judges from the Supreme Court, judges from the High Court were also there, and the ministers were also there, and I as a law secretary was participating in that. I just made one point, that if you really want to reduce pendency in the courts, in addition to increasing the infrastructure of the court, increasing strength of the judges, one way is that you start telecasting the proceedings of the court as is being done in respect of the parliament proceedings. It need not be done in one go, but step by step we can move in that direction. But you will be surprised that most of the senior counsels present there and some of the judges, they showed their reluctance to use this particular technology. But now see what COVID-19 pandemic has done. They have forced us to use that, and even the court proceedings are also now taking place through video conferencing. An advocate who earlier used to attend one case, say in Supreme Court, now sitting in the comfort of his home, can attend one case on the same day in the Madras High Court, another case on the same day in Delhi High Court, and third case on the same day in the Supreme Court. So that is the advantage of the technology which you have. And I think that kind of use we need to make. Yes, I understand initially there are some glitches in the technology which need to be set right. And secondly, as Professor Sinha has very rightly pointed out, I think this has brought a digital divide which need to be corrected as early as possible, so that the weaker section of the society or those people who doesn't have access to the technology, they are not deprived of the proper education which those people who either belong to the upper strata of the society or living in urban area where technology is easily accessible, there is that kind of divide need to be avoided. And I think on that direction, we need to take steps immediately. Professor Sinha has rightly pointed out that you divide the situation into three categories: post-COVID, COVID situation, and pre-COVID situation. I think pre-COVID situation we have seen, as I said, things are not moving the way we wanted it to move. The COVID situation has accelerated it. And now a time has come that now we should devote and concentrate to see that everyone gets benefit of it. And a time has come when a debate is also going on whether you can do 100% through technology and artificial intelligence. I think, this is my personal view, well, a time, as I said, today a time has come when, because of COVID-19, we are attending this faculty development program through video conferencing, and the participants are more than 300. Maybe tomorrow through artificial intelligence, you are able to conduct the whole classes. But even today we have that problem. If suppose you have to conduct an examination, technology is not so strong that you can really have the kind of check which you want to have when a person is appearing in an examination sitting in the comfort of his home, that he will not be using unfair means. I think we have to move in that direction, bring further development in that particular area, and probably that will take time. Maybe today, if we are using 20% technology and 80% of class attendance, a time will come when we will go for 80% use of technology in education and 20% only physical interaction will be required. Probably a stage has not come when we can 100% remove physical interaction, because once I'm talking of physical education, maybe in higher education it may not be that important, but at least in school education and in undergraduate classes, it is very important because it gives you an opportunity of socialization and interacting with the people, which normally you don't get when you are attending a conference through video conferencing. Now take for example, right now I can see on my screen 259 participants are there, but I can see on my screen only 2 or 3 or 5 people who are seeing here, and rest of the people I can't see. Probably that kind of situation, I think, has to be met with, and maybe, as I said, in future, most of the jobs can be done through technology, but a time is not yet right when technology can 100% replace human interaction or physical interaction, which will be very necessary. And through this kind of faculty development program, which we are doing in Sharda University, and the kind of response which we have got from the participants throughout the country, I think I must congratulate Professor Pradeep Kulshrestha and his whole team who has devoted time in publicizing it, bringing good faculty and senior people here for interaction with the participants so that both of them can share their experiences. Now, I don't want to go into the much detail of other aspects. I had many things to say, but since it is a valedictory function, I don't want to take much time of the participants. I'm sure this program has benefited all the participants, and I assure you, not only in Sharda University, but on other platforms also, wherever possible, we will continue to perform our duties and discharge our duties in better interaction and better knowledge sharing, so that the students of tomorrow who are going to be a good nationals of tomorrow, good citizens of tomorrow, get a better knowledge from the experience of those who are coming and sharing their thoughts here. With this, I thank the participants. I also thank the organizers, more particularly Professor Sinha, for the kind of presentation which he has made in this valedictory edX. And I think all of us are benefited because of that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir, for your words of wisdom and highlighting the importance of ICT in teaching and research in present times and also in times to come.
Thank you, sir.
Now I would like to invite and request Dr. Homa Khan, ma'am, Associate Professor, School of Law, Sardar University, to propose the vote of thanks.
Thank you, Namit. An ignited mind is the most powerful weapon on the earth, above the earth and under the earth. And this is got through education. A very good morning to everyone. On behalf of the School of Law, Sharda University, deem it a great honor and privilege to deliver the vote of thanks. Honorable Chief Guest, respected Malhotra sir, Dean sir, teachers, and my dear friends. At first, I would like to thank the Sharda University for arranging such a useful program for faculty development. In this faculty development program, more than 800 participants registered and more than 300 attended this program. This is a huge success in itself. On behalf of the School of Law, I express my heartfelt thanks to our chief guest and all the resource persons for their valuable contribution. I especially thank our Dean Sir, Professor Pradeep Kulshresh, for providing constant support and encouragement. I express my gratitude to organizing committee, especially Mr. Namit Kumar Srivastav, Assistant Professor, for his hard work and dedication to make this program a success. I thank Mr. Pragati Kumar, especially for technical support, for providing 24/7 technological support for this program. And this I this program, in this online faculty develop program, that we have faced so many difficulties at first because it was a new platform for us, but finally we had overcome all the difficulties. So I finally thanks all the participants for participating in this program and making this program a success. And when I was thinking about my vote of thanks, I realized that this online platform has provided us an opportunity that where we are connected not through the physical connection, but we are connected for a purpose. Here we are beyond any discrimination. We are beyond any bias. We are here only for learning and for providing the knowledge. So once again, I thank all the participants for making this program a success. Thank you very much, all of you.
Thank you, ma'am. Pragati, you can share the feedback form in the chat box.
Sure, sir.
Thank you very much, sir.
Namit sir,
Yes.
sorry I'm intervening in between. Actually, my chat box is disabled since the very beginning. So I tried to log out and log in also.
Ma'am, please write an email regarding this, okay? We
I
will
have
sort
already
out.
written a mail to Pragati sir. So should I write it?
Okay, responding to the same. We'll be responding to the same. Please.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
Sir, excuse me, the same issue has been faced by several of us too.
1 second. Mr. Namit,
Yes. Yes, sir.
do we have some questions in this session for sir?
Yes, sir.
Please, we can take few questions.
Participants are requested to put in the chat box their questions if they want any questions to be answered by the guest.
So since the chat box is not there, maybe raise it here.
No, chat box is there.
No, sir, chat box option.
Chat box is not visible to the participants, sir.
So we can't see the chat box. Chat box is not showing from beginning of the.
But I am seeing chat box. Some people are using.
Chat box is visible.
Sir,
this
I'll
is the
put up a
problem.
question. Namit, you can put up a
This is
question
the
from Mudassar Nazir.
Sir, chat box is not
this is
visible.
the problem with everyone. There is no chat box.
Okay, we'll look into this. Mr. Namit, there is one question.
And as there is no
Yes,
chat
yes.
box, we can find any feedback form.
Please don't speak right now because we are going to put up questions. There's a question from Mudassar sir. Sir, what are the different ways which can be used during online teaching for making students more actively participating?
Should I answer or?
Sir,
Yeah.
sir, please.
Whatever the ways for making online teaching interesting. I think the best way to ask the student first, in my own class, what I have done, I requested them also to facilitate they are seeing everything on. Don't take everything and use raising some questions. And you yourself says, okay, so as a teacher, you should have the name of all your students in left-hand side or in a written, in written notebook. So you read some question when you start in the.
Sir, please unmute yourself. You are muted.
Sorry about that. What I feel as a teacher, you have to have all the names in your hand who are in your class. By name, you have to keep a list of the names. Begin your lecture with raising a question, and you ask a particular student to answer. What I have seen and what I am witnessing is students are very forthcoming, whatever response they have in their mind. So you ask 2-3 students, they respond, and then you summarize everything, and then you enter to the new topic and you start talking. So you link with your previous discussion based on the questions, and then you start discussing. When you end the class, you say tomorrow you all go through this material, whatever the queries or question will begin with that, and I'll also ask some questions. So in this way, some kind of students feel they have to do some exercise. Otherwise, what Professor P.K. Malhotra sir has mentioned, and because you mute your video, you mute your you mute your sound system also, and you disappear. So nobody knows how many students are there. Though there are systems off and on, you can count the internet, but not necessarily all are actually participating throughout the continuously sitting before that. So there is a possibility students are disappearing. So that has to be also ensured that off and on when you ask some question, then the students will be very alert. Oh, my name was called, so he will be there. So you have to keep that one also or make interesting. And you can change also. Not every day you lecture. Some days say today, tomorrow will be or surprise. You say today or tomorrow I'll just discuss whatever 3 days I have discussed. So if you have 5 lectures, 3 days you discuss, 1 day you summarize everything and ask students. So there are a number of ways. I'm sure I'm learning, you will all learn, but these are the methods makes very interesting. And time factor also make it okay. But it has to be handled with the university administration. I don't want to you do, but what administration says, if administration allows you to go a little bit different way also, then fine. Otherwise, you adhere to the administration. What administration says you give you timetable, you follow.
Thank you, sir, for your detailed response. So I think there are no questions now because sir has explained everything in so detailed and elaborate manner. So I think the participants are satisfied with the
Namit,
lecture.
one point I would like to make, I mean, in case
Yes,
the
sir.
time permit,
Yes,
you
sir.
see,
Please,
because
please.
most of the participants in this faculty development program are teachers from various universities. My own impression is, and my own experience says that nowadays, probably role of the professors and the teacher in the government or in the executive has also increased. One example which I'm giving you, in spite of the fact that for criminal justice administration, we already have large number of reports. Recently, the Ministry of Home Affairs has constituted a committee for revising the definition of some of the offenses defined under the Indian Penal Code, and the job has been assigned to Vice Chancellor of one of the national law universities, and out of the three people involved, there are from the teaching community. So I think your job is not only confined to teaching in the colleges, but also in the research activities, as also in participating in the executive to see that the law is properly administered. There is one area which, of course, I feel is neglected, that is with regard to clear and concise drafting of law, which probably deserve more attention. And my request to the teaching fraternity through this faculty development program will be, please train the students and tell them that the drafting of law is a very important subject. It is more important than interpreting the law. Because if your laws are clearly defined and they are clearly drafted, probably we can reduce a large number of litigation. So this should be made a regular activity by the teacher during their interaction, not only in the classroom, but outside the classroom also. I just wanted to highlight this point for the benefit or for a suggestion from my side to all the teachers who are participant of this faculty development program. Professor Sinha, would you like to say anything on that?
You're mute, sir, perhaps.
I agree with sir. Like, drafting skill has to be developed and very precise, short, and clear. Because we academicians generally confuse also. So what I have learned in closely working with the ministry, that whatever you want, that has to be clearly conveyed. So that is very important too, and I'm sure that teachers will follow.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir. So I think there are no questions right now. So, Dean, sir, we may end this session, if you permit.
Thank you. Thank you very much, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you. Thank you, Sinha ji. Thank you, Pradeep ji.
Thank you, sir.
Pleasure, sir. Thank you.
Thank you.